Networking and marketing made simple is for you, the business owner who has a product, a service, or a message that you believe in. My name is Scott Aaron, and each week we'll take a behind-the-scenes look into the real-world marketing and networking tactics and strategies for getting what you have in front of you to a lot more people. Thanks for spending time with me, and now let's get started. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Networking and Marketing Made Simple. Super stoked for today's episode, as I know all of you are as well. Thursdays are interview days, and I know how much all of you enjoy by all the feedback that you consistently give us on all the incredible stories and guests that we have on the show, and that's why I'm going to continue to do it. And, as we are now approaching 450 episodes and over 200 interviews, they never get tiresome. They never get old. It's so amazing hearing all of the journeys that people have had to grow through, because again, everyone sees the story, but they don't, they see the glory, but they don't know the story behind that. And it's part of why I love doing these interviews, because I want people to understand that, yes, people are succeeding. They are killing it out there. But there are some things that people had to kind of grow through and go through and learn, and lessons and all of those things to get to where they are. And who I have for you today is someone I connected with on LinkedIn. Her and her husband are just two incredible entrepreneurs. She has an incredible podcast that I was fortunate enough to be on to share my story, which I will link that in the description of the episode as well, so you guys can listen to it there. But what I love most about this person is that she's just a servant leader. It's one of those things where, we're put on this earth for a reason, to help others, to encourage others, to inspire, to motivate. And this person was put on this earth to serve others in any way, shape, or form. So with that behind us, Marci Nettles, welcome to today's episode.
Oh my gosh, Scott, I am so excited to be here. Thank you. Thank you. And by the way, congratulations on 450 episodes. That is phenomenal.
Yeah, we're not stopping. We're almost halfway to 1,000. So we're gonna keep chugging right along.
I love it. I love it. Well, on my podcast, I've got about 45. So I'm just a few behind you. But you know what, though? Yes, exactly. Because that's one of the things I really want to talk about today is the journey, right? Is that every single one of us are on this amazing journey. And if we are continuously looking at someone that's ahead of us and comparing our step 2 to their step 22, then we will never get where we want to go. So that's lesson number 1, guys. And we haven't even gotten into this, is do not compare yourself to anyone else. Compare-itis is the number 1 most fatal itis out there that will most definitely kill, steal, and destroy every single goal, dream, and purpose that you could ever have. So don't compare yourself to anybody.
Love that. And I could not agree more. So, I always like starting out the show this way, because people like to hear kind of what people had to go through and grow through and what they had to overcome. So with where you are right now and everything that you're doing with your entrepreneurial endeavors, your podcast, and everything that's going on, what would you say was the catalytic moment for you in your journey that kind of set you down this path that you're now currently on, that has you not straying from that path that you're on right now?
Oh, great question. I truly believe that anything that does not kill you is meant to grow you. And, before I became an entrepreneur and before I became a podcaster, I was actually a police officer for almost 10 years here in Arizona. And I loved it because I felt like I was serving a community of people that needed my service. Plus, I was being paid pretty well. So I was providing for my young kids at that time, as well as I thought that I could at that time, right? I've learned a lot since then. But being a police officer, you're asked to go into circumstances that you don't know what's going to be happening on the other side of it. And I did that willingly. But the problem is, and many people are faced with this today, is that things happen in this world that change everything for you and you didn't give permission for it. And that happened for me in August of 2009 when I was in a car accident on duty that took my career. It took what I thought was my purpose and it kind of stole my identity. And so I was pretty lost. I went through a really dark time in my life. where I went through a divorce of a marriage that was already struggling. We lost a house, and my kids were teenagers at this time. Mom was struggling because she had a brain injury. I had had 3 spine surgeries after a car accident that just stripped my life. And I found myself in a really dark place to where I ended up on prescription medication that had warning labels on it this time that said may cause suicidal tendencies. And I will tell you very vulnerably here, and this is one of the things that you'll learn about me, is that I truly believe that your story is your superpower as long as you learn to share it vulnerably. And I had 4 suicide attempts before very dear friends of mine were introduced to this entrepreneurial opportunity that I had never thought that I would see myself in. And they thought of me and they had the guts that, right, to, because it takes that courage to step outside and to talk to people about something that's not normal. And I really commend them to this day, and I will be grateful forever that they thought of me and shared it with me, because it really put me into a position to be able to start making different decisions for myself, start seeing myself differently. And I will say that the catalyst that really has me where I am today in being this entrepreneur, being this podcaster, being a servant, is looking at those things that didn't kill me and having the understanding that they didn't happen to me, they happened for me, and that I am grateful for every single thing that has happened to me in my life up until this point, which I'm in my 50s now. So I've had a few things happen, that, I am grateful for every single one of them, because now I can see the lesson that was intended in it. And I am grasping that. I am grabbing hold of it, because I know that if I can internalize that and really figure out why, I was given that opportunity to go through it, I can help other people go through what they're going through, and I can have empathy for them. And so I would say really being able to get to the point that I can see the difficulties in my life and be grateful for them instead of, looking at them and wishing it had never happened. There's not one thing in my life that I can say, I wish it didn't happen.
I love that. So, I always love hearing the backstory of where people have come from. So, what would you say that in being in law enforcement for a decade, what's one of the biggest lessons or attributes, or systems or something that you learned in that journey of being in law enforcement that has really helped you in your entrepreneurial endeavors and everything that you and your husband are doing now?
Good question. How about facing fears and doing it anyway? Right? I mean, because hot tones would come out and I would have to respond. At the time that I was in law enforcement, I mean, this town was thriving, it was growing, but I was working graveyards and there was only 4, maybe 5 of us on for the whole shift, right? To cover a whole 60 square mile area. And so I would be called to go places that, I was scared crapless. I really was. I was scared, but I knew I had to do it anyway, because I knew that if I didn't, someone could be hurt, someone could die, someone's life could be changed forever if I didn't step into it. And so I can look at that as being such a gift in my entrepreneurial flight now, right? Because facing your fears and just stepping into it and doing it, you're going to find that what you feared really doesn't exist. It's all just this made up story inside of our minds, whether it's from things that we've seen, we've heard, we've experienced prior. We're putting it onto this moment. But if you will just step into that fear, you'll grow from it, but you'll also be able to help other people see that, hey, you know what? I didn't die. And so I think that you can probably do it too. So I think that that would be the best answer I could give you to that question.
Yeah, I think once I always talk about leaning into your fear because, you know, no one was born for mediocrity, but also we weren't put on this earth to play it safe. Les Brown talks about it all the time. He goes, you don't want to tiptoe through life and arrive at your grave safely. You actually, you want to squeeze the juice out of life. And on the other side of fear is abundance and peace and ease and love and all of those things. Because think about it, you know, um, you have found, love after divorce, as have I. Um, and think about, you see someone that you want to talk to, but fear stands in the way of actually approaching that person and saying hello. You're you're not able to open a door of many possibilities. And the same can be said for business opportunities. What if you were afraid to start a podcast? Your podcast would never exist. What if you were afraid of the opportunity that your friends presented you over a decade ago? You wouldn't be where you are today. So when people understand that, if there's something in the pit of your stomach, you want to do something, you want to say yes to it, you want to, move the needle forward, but there's a part of you that's afraid. You have to understand that you have to trust your instincts. And I one of my wife and I, one of our favorite shows is Ted Lasso. And in the season 2 finale, um, he said, always trust your gut. And he said, you always got to get out of your head, and from your head, when you go and it travels down to your gut, it passes through your heart. And he goes, your heart and your gut will never lie to you. And that's the thing. When you can get out of your head and get into your heart and trust yourself, amazing things can happen. Now, you're a very multi-dimensional person in the sense of, from a personal standpoint and a professional standpoint. In being a parent, obviously, of older kids now, and obviously being a wife, what are some things that you learned about yourself in being a mom and being a wife that has helped you in the relationships that you build on the professional side of the things that you do?
Oh, great question. And I'm also a grandma. That's probably one of my favorite roles
That
right
that's
now.
not possible.
I have 3 grandbabies and I am so, so proud of each and every one of them. I absolutely adore them. And, what I would say that I learned from being a parent and being a wife and, even having gone through marriages that weren't not successful, right? Is that if you try to be perfect, you're not going to make it to where you want to go. You got to let things be messy. You can't expect perfection from yourself. And if you are expecting perfection from yourself, then the people around you are also going to expect perfection from them. And if we are trying to be perfect, generally what we end up doing is doing nothing because we can't see ourselves being perfect. I have a good friend that recently we were having a conversation and he's been coaching me on some YouTube stuff. And he said, Marci, don't ever try to be perfect. Because what if you actually hit it one time? Then what are you going to do? You already hit perfect. What's the rest of it going to look like? Right. So just getting out and doing it has been such a gift because first of all, I tried being a perfect mom and I wasn't. None of us can. We can't be. And then that set my kids up, for having difficulties or struggles or looking at it as like, well, I can't do that the way my mom did it. Right. And it's exact same thing when you're working with people, when you're working with teams, is if your team or if your business partners, your tribe can't see them doing what you're doing, you're going to create a stalling in your business or you just will not grow where you want to grow.
Yeah, it's one of those things where if you consistently chase something that doesn't exist, like perfection, it's only going to leave you feeling disappointed. And the other analogy that my wife and I always live by is that the peak of one mountain is the valley of the next. So you're always climbing, you're always reaching, and you're never going to stop. Now, with everything that you have accomplished and you are doing right now, because podcasting is one of those things that my wife and I we teach in our expert authority mastermind, but it's something that we really encourage people to do because it's a great way to share your voice, to share your knowledge, to network and connect with amazing individuals like yourself. What was the big motive behind and the inspiration behind creating the podcast that you have, and where do you see it going into the future?
I love that. So let's talk a little bit about fear again here, okay? Because my husband had actually been promoting me and saying, Marci, you've got a great voice. You really need to get out there. You really need to do a podcast because he had been doing one for a while. And he's like, you need to do this. But I kept pushing against it because of fear of the unknown. I didn't know how to do it. And so I resisted. And so I pushed back and I pushed back and I pushed back. And then I attended a Tony Robbins event. And anytime you go to a big event like that, you come out of it just open and encouraged and just looking for the next right thing, right? And so we were on a walk And all of a sudden, I got this download, and I believe it was from God, just because I believe in God. And I had this download that said, "You're blank. What now?" You need to help people share their victorious stories of going from being in breakdown opportunities into their breakthroughs because they chose to do something different. And so we spent the next 30 to 45 minutes on this walk, just coming up with all these different titles or different circumstances that people could possibly be in that could be considered a breakdown. And if they are thinking about that as being their final destination, that's where they'll stay. But what if we could help highlight stories of people that had been there and had chosen to break through, and creating that light at the end of the tunnel and creating this whole path that people could just latch arms and walk along? And so the real inspiration is to give hope, right? There's so many people out there that are hopeless in their circumstances, and yet there is somebody else out there that has been in a very similar circumstance as that very person, and they have gotten out of it. And if one person can get out of it, so can anyone, right? Anyone. And so where I see it going, and by the way, I love the community. I love my tribe. I love the people that listen, and I'm just getting started. I see this as being a movement. I see it as being a group of people that are going to be locking arms, looking for other people to help out of dark places. And, it's just a matter of bringing people together that want to help other people. Um, Podcasting's amazing because guess what? All I had to do, and by the way, I learned a really great lesson just a few weeks ago, is when you don't know something, and I know that I probably need to keep this really clean, right? On your podcast, is this a really clean podcast kind of? Well, I learned this term, and it just makes sense. And it really helped me get out of my lack of searching for information. When a woman that was teaching, she's like, just go Google that shit. It's like when she has team members that come and ask questions, she's like, go Google that shit. It's like, I don't need to be telling you all of this. I'm not going to be in your back pocket all of the time. Take some ownership and go and Google. Right. And so that's what I did. I Googled it. I found YouTube videos. I watched some YouTube videos. And the next thing you know, I've got a show. It's amazing if you just take some ownership, decide that you want to do it. There is so much education out there for free that you can do. And so I would totally encourage you that if you have something on your heart, don't keep it there, because you're being inspired. You are being shown and being given a gift of a message that you need to be sharing with the world. And podcasting is a phenomenal way to do that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And, taking action is actually one of the best feelings, because people don't realize when you take action, it's going to create a result.
Yes.
And when you move that needle forward, you have no clue the endless and abundant opportunities that lie out there from just taking a small step forward. And it's something that I always encourage people to do. Get uncomfortable. Try something different. Disconnect from social media for a day or two. Do whatever it is that you need to do to get grounded within yourself, to get that clarity or to get that download, like you said, that will give you the inspiration to do something more. Now, again, we're always looking to expand, and we're always looking to, up level ourselves. For the people that are listening to this that, feel kind of lost and they're not really sure what it is that they want to do, what's a simple message that you can leave them with to encourage them, not just to take action, but to be more accountable of their own life and the things that they can actually accomplish if they choose to?
Love that question, because the thing is I'm right in the middle of doing this myself. I think it's something that we have to constantly be doing. And that's being, first of all, aware of our circumstances, being aware of the people that are around us, and having the knowledge that we are the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. And the people don't actually have to be physical human beings. It could be the TV, it could be the news, it could be books you're reading, it could be podcasts you're listening to. Those people are so vitally important to your personal growth, because that's what we're talking about right now, is you got to choose to grow yourself, right? And you're the one that has to take ownership in that. And one of the things that I'm constantly looking for new books to read. I have got amazing mentors that I've never met personally, but they are constantly pouring into my life and helping me grow into the person that I need to be, to become, I truly believe I have got a huge God-given purpose. But I also believe that every single person that's going to be listening to this has just as big of a purpose, but each one of us has to choose to step into it. You may not know how, you may not know why, may not know what it is yet. But if you are constantly focusing on growing yourself, making sure that you are surrounding yourself with the information and the people, especially from people that have maybe what you want, right? Or are on their way to getting the same things that you want, right? Those are the people that you want to latch arms with. I love what someone said. I don't know who this quote comes from, but never ask for financial advice from your broke uncle, right? It's the same thing from your friends. If your friends are negative all the time, or your friends don't have they're always just talking negatively, or they're gossiping or anything like that, those are people that you need to choose not to spend a lot of time with. If they're family members, yeah, sometimes you kind of have to keep them in your circle a little bit, but you can choose how much time. You need to put yourself as a priority and know that you are important enough, and you need to love yourself, and you need to love your future generations enough to up level. So, I mean, I'm actually starting a new book club. Can I talk about that? So, new book club, you could actually go to marcinettles.com/book club. And we are going to be starting with our first book, September 1st. There's going to be a Facebook private community that you can join into, as well as having Zooms weekly. But this is going to be an opportunity to where we can all come together. We can have our minds open together. We can be consuming good information. First book's going to be The Power of One More by Ed Milet. And I love the messaging in that book, because every single one of you has the opportunity to be that one more, that power that changes your family for generations. So I would love to personally invite everybody, marcinettles.com/book club to get all the details. And I would love to meet everyone too, because it's all about community. It's all about tribe, right?
Absolutely, and it's really funny that you mentioned that, because within our mastermind, one of our members suggested, we should have a book club within here. So when anyone joins our mastermind, Nancy and I send a care package of some of our favorite books that we want them to read throughout the year. But we also pick a new book each month for us to read as a group. And we just finished, at the time of this recording, we just finished Everything is Figure Outable by Marie Forleo, which is a wonderful book.
Good.
And we're about to read The Next Door, The Third Door by Alex Banyan, which is a great book. I actually had the pleasure of spending an afternoon with him and heard him speak when he was promoting his book. And it's important for me, I just love reading books, and it's a way to nourish, your mind, your body, your soul, but also, as you mentioned, that community aspect. So
Yes.
outside of obviously the book club that you have going on, what's the best way for people to find out more about Marci and what she's up to?
Oh my gosh, my website is really good because it's got all the links to all of my social media, because I'm on just about everything. The only one I'm really not is Twitter. So you can go to marcinettles.com and you can find links to my Facebook, my Instagram, TikTok even, and YouTube. So I would love to connect with everybody. If you want to send me an email, it's marci@marcinettles.com, keeping it all simple. But I would love to hear from you. I would love to actually have time to be able to see what your goals are, what your vision is, and then also kind of have a conversation around maybe why you don't think that you've gotten it yet. Because the thing is every single one of you, if you can think it, if you can dream it, then you can absolutely do it, because everything that you need is inside of you to accomplish the things that you can think of. So yeah, follow me, let's connect, and I would love to chat.
Awesome. So everyone that's listening, all the information that Marci just mentioned is going to be in the description of the episode, so you're not going to have to travel too far. So Marci, final question before we sign off: what does success truly mean to you?
It means that wherever I go, I'm not going alone, that I've brought people with me and we've been able to change our lives. And as we change our lives, we are changing the communities that we live in and changing the world in the process, because the world needs to be changed. We have become a dark place, and it's time for our lights to shine. And so greatest success can be is being that light for someone that's in the darkness, and being able to help lift them up and out so that they can shine their light too.
Love that. It's about, obviously giving to yourself and then being able to give to others around you. And you are a prime example of that. And just so grateful that you took the time out of your day to day to come onto the podcast and, bless my audience with all of your knowledge and your inspiration. So Marci, thank you so much for being here today. I cannot wait for people to hear this, but also dive into all the resources that you have on your website.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Scott. I appreciate you. And your episode is pretty bomb too. So they've got to make sure and listen to that.
I appreciate that. So everyone, as always, wherever you're listening to this from, whether it's Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcasts, leave us a rating and review. Let us know what you loved most about this episode. Share it out on social media. And again, if there's anything that you would like me to bring to the podcast more often or less often, please let us know. We're trying to make this the best podcast possible. So everyone, please enjoy the rest of your days, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much again for checking out today's episode. And if you are listening through iTunes, Spotify, wherever you are, please leave me a rating and review. Let me know what you loved, what you would like to see improved, or ideas you have for future episodes. And if you are interested in taking your business to the next level, don't hesitate to go to my website, www.scottaaron.net, where you can schedule a free discovery call with me, where I can learn more about you, your business, what you're struggling with, and how we can work together. And don't forget to check out my wife, Nancy, and mine, our free community on Facebook called LinkedIn Leads for Life. We would love to see you in there. Have a great rest of your day. And thank you, everyone, for your support. Grateful for each and every one of you.